Sean, why me? Why now? I always like to think of a timeline here. It's not just a CV. And the timeline starts with, so I want to be an inspector. The reason is because, like, what was the seed that made you think I want to be an inspector? What was the start of that journey? Because you may have joined the police thinking, oh, it might be nice to get promoted to inspector, but there might have been a moment when you just thought, I want to be like him. I want to be like her. Some moment in time that inspired you and made you think, if I could just be half of that individual. So some motivating moment. It might be motivation by person or a motivation by incident, but something that made you think, I want those pips. That's something I think I could really work towards and be good at. And then we're just telling a story of your development. So not necessarily your CV, but what steps have you taken to move yourself closer to that goal? And the things you discovered about yourself as a leader along the way. So it's got like 3 or 4 chapters in it. If each one's a minute long, it's going to be your perfect sort of 4 or 5 minutes for that answer. Is that resonating, Sean?
Yeah, I was just confused, not confused, bit of a stretch really, but intrigued to whether to treat it as two separate questions or one, really. And it makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah, I treat it as one. So why me? Right, those are the reasons why. And I'd bring into the story some of the things that your forces are not doing well with. So Sean, what are the 3 things that your force is really struggling with at the moment? The 3 things that the Chief Constable is awake at night because of?
Investigating crime has got worse on the last Peel report. Responding to the public stayed the same, and protecting vulnerable people is in the red. They need to improve
Right,
drastically.
vulnerability and performance. Right, vulnerability and probably investigation performance is my big guess. Shoddy investigations wrapped around vulnerable people. So what have you done to develop yourself around that and develop others around that thing? So that would resonate with me on a board because I'd be thinking about this person is going to deliver added value. Because you don't become someone who can motivate people to deal with and develop themselves around those challenging issues overnight. That takes time. And it takes time to develop yourself as well as a leader to work out how to do that. Because is there a standard operating procedure for how to develop people around the standard of investigations, particularly around vulnerable people? Is there an SOP for that in the force, Sean?
Yeah, but we're quite siloed within our force. Like whether it's a VA team or a RASO team, and then they've obviously got their own policies that they're following. Um,
No,
so
I'll stop you there. Those are the policies that they follow, but is there a policy for how to develop someone to be awesome at investigating vulnerability?
no,
No. The reason why there's no SOP for it is because it's on you. It's your role. And they can't do an SOP for it because it's so hard. It'd be so hard to wrap an SOP around that because it depends on each individual. So that's how I tell my story, Sean. Like this story of value, this story of I was motivated by this, and I've been on this journey that's involved these distinct stages. And what I discovered in each one of those as a leader was something. And today, I feel confident now to be able to take on this challenge because of my experience in the past of developing others and developing myself as a person, as a leader. It might be just throwing something in there like, I remember thinking when I first got promoted or first went temping as an inspector, my first week I felt I was like as in an Osprey station. I thought the whole thing was just like so hard. It's just like all the role plays you had to do to pass the inspector's exam years ago. And I realized, there's a self-realization after about a year that being an inspector is actually quite easy. The reason why it was hard was because I wasn't saying, yes, that sounds like a great idea, get on with it. And if you need any help, let me know. I was taking on too much. I was taking on things that I shouldn't have been taking on. And there was that realization that actually this role can be really easy if I just learn to delegate more. I just wasn't delegating enough. And so something in there, Sean, that shows a sign of, I'm not the perfect product yet, but I'm on the way. It took me about a year of having pips on my shoulder to start getting really confident as an inspector. And I think they'll be looking for that. And then after 5 years, you know, I was doing things that I never thought I'd be doing as an inspector with 1 year's service as an inspector. After 5 years, I felt really confident in being able to manage, um, you know, other strategic leaders from partner agencies around things like organized criminality and complex vulnerability in our communities. I don't think I would have been able to do that with 1 year of PIPs under my belt, but I developed those skills. Is that helping, Sean?
Yes, thanks very much, mate. Much appreciated.